What's good, family? Man, it's a late one, but hey, I'm getting it done, right? Black is gold. Almost forgot about this. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, but you know what I mean? I'm here. Your boy's here, all right? Here to bring you another rendition of Black is Gold. This week we have, well, to not this week, but today we have Sister Harriet Tubman, all right? Let's get into Sister Harriet Tubman's story. Harriet Tubman, born Armanita Rose, March 1822 through March 10th, 1913, was an American abolitionist and social activist. Born into slavery, Tubman escaped and subsequently made some 13 missions to rescue approximately 70 slaves, including family and friends, using the network of anti-slavery activists and safe houses known as the Underground Railroad. Okay, you know about the Underground Railroad? Do your research. I'm going to kind of get into that a little bit as I do the story. During the American Civil War, she served as an armed scout and spy for the Union Army. In her later years, Tubman was an activist in the movement for women's suffrage. All right. Born and enslaved in Dorchester County, Maryland, Tubman was beaten and whipped by her various masters as a child. Early in life, she suffered a traumatic head wound when an irate overseer threw a heavy metal weight intended to hit another slave, but hit her instead. The injury caused dizziness, pain, and spells of hypersomnia, which occurred throughout her life. After her injury, Tubman began experiencing strange visions and vivid dreams, which she ascribed to premonitions from God. These experiences, combined with her Methodist upbringing, led her to become devoutly religious. In 1849, Tubman escaped to Philadelphia, only to return to Maryland to rescue her family soon after. Slowly, one group at a time, she brought relatives with her out of the state and eventually guided dozens of other slaves to freedom. Traveling by night in extreme secrecy, Tubman, or Moses as she was called, never lost a passenger. After the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 was passed, she helped guide fugitives farther north into British North America, which is Canada, and helped newly free slaves find work, well, section of Canada. Tubman met John Brown in 1858 and helped him plan and recruit supporters for his 1859 raid on Harper's Ferry. When the Civil War began, Tubman worked for the Union Army, first as a cook and nurse, and then as an armed scout and spy. The first woman to lead an armed expedition in the war, she guided the raid at Combahee Ferry, which liberated more than 700 slaves. Wow. After the war, she retired to the family home on property she had purchased in 1859 in Auburn, New York, where she cared for her aging parents. She was active in the women's suffrage movement until illness overtook her, and she had to be admitted to a home for elderly African Americans that she had helped to establish years earlier. She became an icon of courage and freedom. Okay, let's get into her childhood. All right, Tubman's mother was assigned to the big house and had scarce time for her own family. Consequently, as a child, Tubman took care of a younger brother and baby, as was typical in large families. All right. When she was 5 or 6 years old, Rhodes hired her out as a nursemaid to a woman named Miss Susan. Tubman was ordered to care for the baby and rock the cradle as it slept. When the baby woke up and cried, she was whipped. She later recounted a particular day when she was lashed 5 times before breakfast. Wow. She carried the scars for the rest of her life. She found ways to resist, such as running away for 5 days, wearing layers of clothing as protection against beatings and fighting back. As a child, Tubman also worked at the home of a planter named James Cook. She had to check the muskrat traps in nearby marshes even after contracting measles. She became so ill that the cook sent her back to Brodess, where her mother nursed her back to health. Brodess then hired her out again. She spoke later of her acute childhood homesickness, comparing herself to the boy on the Swanee River, an allusion to Stephen Foster's song, Old Folks at Home. As she grew older and stronger, she was assigned to field and forest work, driving oxen, plowing, and hauling logs. As an adolescent, Tubman suffered a severe head injury when an overseer threw a 2-pound, 1K metal weight at another slave who was attempting to flee. The weight struck Tubman instead, which she said broke my skull. Bleeding unconscious, she was returned to her owner's house and laid on the seat of a loom, where she remained without medical care for 2 days. After the incident, Tubman frequently experienced extremely painful headaches. She also began having seizures and would seemingly fall unconscious. Although she claimed to be aware of her surroundings while appearing to be asleep, the condition remained with her for the rest of her life. Larson suggests she may have had temporal lobe epilepsy as a result of the injury. Wow. After the injury, Tubman began experiencing visions and vivid dreams which she interpreted as revelations from God. These spiritual experiences had a profound, that's my laundry, let me know what's up. These spiritual profound experiences had a profound effect on Tubman's personality and she acquired a passionate faith in God. Although Tubman was illiterate, she was told Bible stories by her mother and likely attended a Methodist church with her family. She rejected the teachings of white preachers who urged slaves to be passive and obedient victims to those who trafficked and enslaved them. Instead, she found guidance in the Old Testament tales of deliverance. This religious perspective informed her actions throughout her life. All right, let's get into Escape from Slavery. All right, after this, y'all, I'm out. All right, I just want to get into the story of Harriet Tubman, and it's a lot to her story. You know what I mean? They nicknamed her Moses. The John Bernard Harpy's Fair, where she liberated a lot of slaves. Of course, she was active in the Civil War. All right, so let's get into Escape from Slavery, and after that, I'm going to close, all right? So, in 1849, Tubman became ill again, which diminished her value in the eyes of the slave traders. Edward Borders tried to sell her, but could not find a buyer. Angry at him for trying to sell her and for continuing to enslave her relatives, Tubman began to pray for her owner, asking God to make him change his ways. She said later, "I prayed all night long for my master till the 1st of March, and all the time he was bringing people to look at me and trying to sell me. When it appeared as though a sale was being concluded, I changed my prayer," she said. 1st of March, I began to pray. Salute to the brother, Alonzo Hall. Make sure y'all like and subscribe to Alonzo Hall on all social media platforms. This brother has some great financial advice. You know what I'm saying? Definitely tap in with him, man. This brother is solid, man. Salute to you, family. I'm glad you checked in with me. All right, let's get back into it, y'all. 1st of March, I began to pray. "Oh, Lord, if you ain't never going to change this man's heart, kill him, Lord, and take him out of the way." A week later, Brodess died, and Tubman expressed regret for her early sentiments. As in many state settlements, Brodess' death increased the likelihood that Tubman would be sold and her family broken apart. His widow, Eliza, began working to sell the family slave. Tubman refused to wait for the Brodess family to decide her fate, despite her husband's effort to dissuade her. "There was 1 or 2 things I had a right to do," she explained later: liberty or death. And if I could not have one, I would have the other. Tubman and her brothers Ben and Henry escaped from slavery on September 17, 1849. Tubman had been hired out to Anthony Thompson, the son of her father's former owner, who owned a large plantation in an area called Poplar Neck in neighboring Caroline County. It is likely her brothers labored for Thompson as well, because the enslaved were hired out to another household. Eliza Brodess probably did not recognize her absence as an escape attempt for some time. 2 weeks later, she posted a runaway notice in the Cambridge Democrat offering a reward up to $100 each for their capture and return to slavery. Once they had left, Tubman's brothers had second thoughts. Ben may have just become a father. The two men went back, forcing Tubman to return with them. Soon afterward, Tubman escaped again, this time without her brother. Before leaving, she sang a farewell song to hint at her intentions, which she hoped would be understood by Mary, a trusted fellow slave. "I'll meet you in the morning," she atoned. "I'm bound for the promised land." While her exact route is unknown, Tubman made use of the network known as the Underground Railroad. This informal system was composed of free and enslaved Black people, white abolitionists, and other activists. Most prominent among the latter in Maryland at the time were members of the Religious Society of Friends, often called Quakers. The Preston Arena near Poplar Neck contained a substantial Quaker community that was probably an important first step during Tubman's escape. From there, she probably took a common route for people fleeing slavery, northeast along the Choptank River through Delaware and then north into Pennsylvania. A journey of nearly 90 miles, wow, by foot would have taken between 5 days and 3 weeks. That's crazy. Tubman had to travel by night, guided by the North Star, and trying to avoid slave catchers eager to collect rewards for fugitive slaves. The conductors in the Underground Railroad used deceptions for protection. At an early stop, the lady in the house instructed Tubman to sweep the yard as to seem to be working for the family. When night fell, the family hid her in a cart and took her to the next friendly house. Wow. Given her familiarity with the wombs and marshes of the region, Tubman likely hid in these locals during the day. The particulars of her first journey are unknown because other fugitives from slavery used the routes. Tubman did not discuss them until later in her life. She crossed into Pennsylvania with a feeling of relief and awe and recalled the experience years later. "When I found I had crossed that line, I looked at my hands to see if I was the same person. There was such a glory over everything. The sun came like gold through the trees and over the fields, and I felt like I was in heaven." Wow. Ooh, that's heavy, man. That's heavy. Yo, that's the story of Harriet Tubman, y'all. Man, revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? She freed thousands of slaves during her tenure, and during her time, you know what I'm saying, of just being an abolitionist and being somebody who was definitely, you know what I mean, an example of what we need to do on a regular basis, man. Even when the odds are against us, you know what I mean, the odds were definitely against her. Remember, she was illiterate as well, and she still, you know, fought for freedom. She still fought to make sure that her people were free. You know what I'm saying? And do we have that same type of, I would say, we have the same type of passion, the same type of just, you know, thirst to just free ourselves from the things that are oppressing us, whether it's a bad habit, whatever it is, man, whatever's oppressing you, could be anything, right? Do we have that same energy towards that? You know what I mean? Okay, I use energy, so whatever. All right, so with that being said, y'all, look, you know what I mean? This is Black and Gold, episode 15. Harriet Tubman, y'all. Had to knock this one out real quick, all right? Like and subscribe, hit that bell. You know what I mean? Anybody watching the replay, thank you for the support. You know what I mean? Appreciate y'all. I will be back tomorrow with another Black as Gold. As usual, as our Heavenly Sisters in the stream says, you know, QB says, be intentional. I'm being intentional, all right, and finishing this laundry and getting some rest. All right, with that being said, y'all, I'm out. You know what I mean? Have a good night, y'all. Peace.
The DJ.